Thanks for my work. I realized you're like shop.
Can't imagine that. Let's see what we got. We got Fred. I think so.
Good morning to the Coos County Area Transportation District meeting, and Doug?
I'd like to call the meeting to order on this festive day, September 9th. Could we do a roll call, Melissa, please?
Director Vesey?
Present.
Director Johnson? Director Clausen?
Here.
Director Dovenspike?
Here.
Director Mason Long? Director Nelson? Director Baker?
Here.
We do have a quorum of the Board of Directors. And moving to the Advisory Committee, Lauren Morris?
Here.
Mike Marchant?
Here.
Lindsay Board? Harper Thompson? Michelle McIntyre? We also have with us today Michael Babcock. Welcome.
Thank you.
And we have Jane Stebbins and Jennifer Boardman, and Director Mason Long is connecting now. Welcome. Did I miss anyone?
David. David's here.
Oh, David. I'm sorry, David. Good morning, David. I greeted you earlier.
Good morning.
Oh, we got a phone call. We're gonna have to put the meeting on hold. No, just kidding.
I recognize that tone.
That sounds like a phone, an old phone. Okay. Call to order the joint meeting of the CCATD Board of Directors and the CCATD Committee. Do we have any changes to the agenda? Any changes to the agenda? Okay, thank you. We've got citizens' comments on agenda items. Do we have any citizens who want to make any comments? TV guy? No TV guy. Anyone else want to make comments about the agenda? Okay, thank you. We have a consent agenda as presented. We did a motion in a second. We can then talk about anything you want to talk about on the consent agenda.
I move to accept the consent agenda.
Thank you.
Second.
Thank you. We've got a move in a second. Does anyone want any questions or comments in regards to the minutes, financials, and the ridership report for July? Questions or comments?
I have a couple questions.
Hey, Fred, go. Thanks, Fred.
Yeah, so I think it was a few months ago, there was a community-wide meeting about homelessness. It was at the Egyptian Theater. And I went to that, and then it seemed like it was within a few days after that, I had a community member contact me and ask me some questions about the transportation district and what kind of data we had around, people coming in primarily from Florence. And I just noticed on the ridership report, there was a huge increase this last month from Florence. And I just wondered what kind of granularity we have on that data and whether or not we track the to and from type of ridership. Is that something that can be easily generated into a data file like a CSV if a person wanted to look at, like a historical annual type comparison?
Good question, Fred. So yes, we can export to a CSV. And it will include items such as the pickup location and drop-off location. If a reservation was made in advance, and a few are, then you know, we generally would have a person's name and purpose of the trip. And so I can, if there's a request, I can go ahead and I can pull a report for Florence.
That would be good. I would think for purposes of either refuting or answering questions, that because I had no answer.
Was there a concern attached with this dialogue with respect to Florence?
Yeah, the concern was that people might be migrating into our area from the Eugene area through via the Florence route and then not leaving. And you know, I mean, it's been a concern and it's been in the news locally, you know, with the homeless population increasing and that sort of thing. I think we're all aware of that.
I'll have 2 transfers for you at Walmart.
Melissa,
David?
I talk to these people that call in that are coming through Eugene to here every day, and I talk to our bus drivers every day, and I can tell you, not one time have I ever heard anyone say that it's a bunch of homeless people. We actually routinely will get calls from the Devereaux Center, letting know so there are people that are leaving from here on that Florence bus to go somewhere else, but I've never had any single inference ever that it was a bunch of homeless people coming in. It's oftentimes people that are either coming in over the summertime, a lot of bike riders that are riding or hikers that are hiking trails around here. And then a lot of people that are just visiting or literally just passing through on their way to California. But I haven't had any indication from either the bus drivers or the phone calls that it's ever been anything related to homelessness.
Jane?
Is there anything in the data that we collect that would tell you that anything other than the fact that they used those 2 stops?
No, generally not.
Even if even if like outside of, I guess, if we needed to look at it in the meeting, even releasing names, would there to have to at least be like a public interest statement or something just for releasing that if people wanted that. But I don't think there's really a way that you could connect the 2 things, Fred, with the information that we have. And I don't think we could reasonably collect it without getting into some trouble in other arenas.
Sure. Yeah, I wasn't really interested in names or anything like that, but
just like, but how to prove it? I mean, what are you going to do? Like, well, this person had bad hygiene when they came on, so maybe we're going to put them in this camp. There's just no way to really like find that out.
Well, as a person whose son has taken the bus from Eugene to Coos Bay and picked him up, and me picking someone up in Eugene and taking him to the airport, I have never, ever seen an issue with the topic of homeless people riding the bus. And I've seen the bus a lot. Mike?
Are we worried about non-citizens coming in for homeless people have as much right as you or I to come here anytime they want for whatever reason they want. Sure. I'm offended about this whole line, Fred.
well, I'm just
I'd like you to your contacts. I'd love to have conversations with them.
Yeah.
And we can have an American flag and a flag salute here to with it if you like.
No, it had nothing to do with whether they were citizens or not citizens. It was more around the topic of whether or not we were, facilitating a migration of homeless people into the community. That's all.
Well, there's been a lot of talk over the years that they bus people here from Portland to Coos Bay, and I have never seen bus of people coming down that quote, might be homeless, so there's a lot of propaganda out there, but I think your question is excellent. And I think Melissa will get the right information for us, just to give us a clue. And it's good that you address the question with the person. And yeah,
Sure.
whether we think they're crazy or not, I think it's good if we address the problem and present with facts.
It's
Then
our,
that's the most important thing.
yeah, it's our responsibility.
That's exactly right. Good job, Fred.
Thank you.
Any more questions about our minutes, ridership, and financials? So we have a motion and a second on the floor to accept our consent agenda as presented. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Oppose? Abstain? Good discussion on the agenda. Okay, old business. Melissa, you got some knowledge for us there.
Yeah, so at our last meeting in August, we approved a timeline for grant solicitations associated with funding for the 25-27 biennium. And as soon as we adopted and all agreed to the timeline, ODOT, and no, not Jennifer Boardman, ODOT and Upper ODOT, they have adjusted our timeline for us and shaved off a couple months. So as a result, we're going to be fast tracking our planning so that we can make all of the deadlines. And so you'll notice that today we will be reaffirming our statewide transportation improvement fund, our priorities for that. And then we'll also be discussing our solicitation for 5310 and our STIF projects. That public solicitation is a required element that we need to do. And then we'll have that solicitation turned around to us for our next meeting. So everything is faster.
So basically, it's going to October 1st, then from previous dated. Melissa?
Yeah,
That's what's happening?
yeah. So originally, for our responses to 5310 STIF, we were originally slated for November 29th. Now it's October 1.
Would you like a motion, or do you think this with the date, we just have to, do you want a motion for that to?
It would be great
adjust
if
it?
we just go ahead as the board of directors to adopt the revised timeline.
Okay,
So if someone could
I can,
move to adopt.
yeah, I can move to adopt.
thank you, Shelley. Thank you. Moved in second to adopt the adjusted timeline because of changes unforeseen. Any questions or comments first? All those in favor of adjusting the guidelines for our grant, say aye.
Aye.
Oppose? Abstain? Guide on. Good luck. New business. Advisory committee appointment. Okay. Okay, so Melissa, do you want to go ahead and introduce that?
Sure. So one of the responsibilities of the board of directors is to appoint individuals to our advisory committee. As a reminder, the advisory committee does advise and assist the board of directors in carrying out the Special Transportation Improvement Fund. We are happy that we have received an application from Mr. Michael Babcock, and he's with us here today. And he does utilize public transit himself. So I am looking forward to the board entertaining this application.
Excellent. Could I get a motion and a second? And we might even ask them a question.
I move to appoint Michael Babcock to the Coos transit
Thank you. And a second?
I would second.
Okay, thank you. Any questions? You want to ask Michael any questions? Put him on the hot seat?
Sure. Why don't you just tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, so I've been completely blind since birth, used public transit in multiple different communities. As I was saying earlier, I used to use Dial-A-Ride around here when I was living out in Tokyo prior to 2020. And then from 2020 until today, I had not admittedly used public transit. I think a lot of that was due to my lack of knowledge and honestly lack of confidence in orientation and mobility skills. I can travel across country, but I tell people sometimes I struggle with traveling in my own community, which is a unique issue to have, and it's something mentally I just have to get over. I am the president of the Southwestern chapter of the American Council of the Blind, serving blind Coos County residents, and I do a lot of AV stuff as well.
Excellent.
A lot of which stuff?
Audio, video stuff, AV. Yep.
Any other questions for Michael from anyone? Okay, we got a motion to second to accept Michael as a Coos County Area Transportation Advisory Committee. All those in favor say aye. Aye. No, any nays? Any abstains? Welcome, Michael.
Thank you.
And now I see here we need necessary to reappoint Lauren Morrison, Mike Marchand for another go round. Can I get a motion on the floor to reappoint those two fine young persons?
I'd proudly move to reappoint them.
Excellent. And a
I
second?
I second
Thank
that,
you.
Sarah.
Hi, Tara.
Hi, sorry I was late. I was putting out not a literal fire, but you know, an almost fire.
I understand. So we got a motion and a second. Any questions on these two candidates who've been involved for many years? All those in favor of Lauren and Mike, say aye. Aye. Oppose? Abstain. Thank you for getting on the saddle again. Here we go. Nice. Okay, Advisory Committee Election of Officers. Melissa?
Yeah,
Want to-
we're gonna have to defer the election of officers because we only have 3 members present. So what we'll do when we go into discussion on priorities, we'll ask the advisory committee members that are present to participate in the dialogue. But unfortunately, as a body, we won't be able to have the advisory committee put forward motions at this meeting. So we will defer the
Okay.
election of officers to the next meeting.
That is totally the way it has to be. Okay. Stiff local service priorities. Go ahead, Melissa.
Now I'm gonna share my screen. And let me,
So Melissa, if I understand it, this is Lauren, if I understand right, then we are only gonna discuss the prioritization. We're not going to actually advise the board on it at this time.
correct.
Okay.
So because we don't have a quorum, we
Right.
will call upon the advisory committee members, right, to give feedback. But as a committee, you won't be able to make a formal recommendation.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. So, in your packet and on the screen, you will see the previous prioritization of services. And so I'm gonna go through each of our services one by one, and for us to discuss as a group with respect to priorities. How we'll be using these priorities is when we write up our solicitation. These priorities will go into that solicitation, seeking other transportation providers if they want to, let's say, bid and provisioning any services for us. In the past, I can say that the district itself is the only entity that has responded to the solicitation. So any questions on that piece?
Nope.
Okay. So the first service that we'll be talking about today is the Dial-A-Ride or demand response service. This service is for seniors and individuals with disabilities in Coos Bay, Charleston, or North Bend. This service is available Monday through, actually, we have a typo, through Saturday, because it has to run as a companion service to our fixed route. And this particular service in 23-24 served 7,870 trips. And you'll see the cost in 23-24 was $283,000. The cost per trip is $36 a trip. And we generally do almost 31 trips a day. And last biennium, when we were going through this process, we identified this as a high priority. And we used high, medium, low, and when we were on the cusp of something, we described it as high, medium. Are there any comments with respect to our Dial-A-Ride service?
How does that compare to say last year? Because it seems like 31 rides seems pretty good per day.
Yeah, so last year when you looked at it annually, you'll see in your table in 22-23 we did 7,229 compared to 23-24, which was 7,870. So there wasn't, we were seeing an increase, which is fabulous. But in general, it was pretty close to what we're seeing right now. Trips per day.
And we're still working on getting a trainer, right?
We have a travel trainer. We have David Repkovich. He's our communications/travel trainer.
Do we have that person like going out to the senior center? And the reason I'm asking is I attended a memory cafe. I'm trying to remember the name of it. I attended a memory cafe at the North Bend Library, and most of the people there, I would say even like 75 plus, weren't really too familiar with our transportation system.
I'll have David reach out to you to get more information about that.
I just want to jump in real quick and say, when I called Dave, or David called me, this is Michael, by the way, in August, and he had no hesitation of coming to speak to the Southwestern chapter to let our members know, because I think that's a big issue as well, is our members aren't aware of all the services that CCATD provides. So I'm excited for David to come speak on Saturday to let them know about the services.
Awesome.
Great.
Mike,
well, and obviously this is a very important program with our senior and disability. They need to have an opportunity. That's why we always have it as high, because it is important. Because eventually will be there. And then then all of a sudden it's more important. No, it's important right now,
It is.
regardless. Because transportation is an issue in the county, obviously. Go ahead, Melissa.
Mike Marchant.
Thank you. I think those are all excellent points. I mean, these just really are probably highest needs ridership without a lot of other options. I was curious just about the demand versus capacity, Melissa, for the dial-a-ride. If the demand is, looks like it's probably steady, but does it exceed our capacity to provide that service? Thank you.
Excellent question. So I would say Wednesdays is our busiest day, and it can be difficult on Wednesdays to get a reservation in between the time of 10 to 2, we'll say. But otherwise, we still have we run 2 bays currently, and we're not at full capacity, with the exception of that Wednesday.
Is that farmers market related, Melissa? Or
No,
is
we
that
think,
just a
we think
coincidence?
it's generally related to medical. Some doctors aren't in town every day. They come in once a week or so, and we believe it's just due to the increased medical scheduling that happens on Wednesdays.
Okay, thank you.
Mhm. So moving to Dial-a-Ride in Bandon, Monday through Friday. And this is for the general public. And previously, we ranked this as a high priority. And we do 1,941 trips in the last fiscal year. And we do 7.5 trips per day, and the cost is $37.81 a trip. Annually, $73,381. So are there any comments on our demand response in Bandon?
It's nice to see an increase of quite a few, almost.
Yeah, in the neighborhood of 20%, yeah.
Yeah, that's excellent.
And it's, it's like in Bandon, like the rest of the county, it's a critical service.
Good point.
The next service is Coquille Myrtle Point. I will say that last year, this service was established as a fixed route, a deviated fixed route. This year, we have, as of July 1, we changed it up to demand response. And last year, we were seeing 1.5 trips a day. This year already we're up to 2.28 trips per day. So clearly the changing the service delivery type was in our best interest. We prioritized this service as high medium, and I would also say that we are engaged with the schools because we believe there's some opportunity there to serve high school students more on this particular route, and we anticipate this route to be growing.
Good.
Are there any other comments on Coquille Myrtle Point?
Does it still go 4 times a day, 2 each way?
So
Melissa?
this is just between Coquille Myrtle Point. This isn't the Timber, which goes
Okay,
from Coos Bay North Bend. This isn't intercity. This is more, this is a local service,
okay.
like Dial-a-Ride in Bandon, except it's a bigger bigger, two community dial-a-ride, basically.
Got it. Good. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Then we come to what I would call our meat and potatoes, which is red, green, and blue, and gold. These are our fixed routes here in Coos Bay, North Bend, and Charleston. And red, green, and blue. This last planning cycle we described as our high service priority. And you can see that red, 17,000 trips, green, almost 17,000 trips, and blue, almost 20,000 trips annually. And that is Monday through Saturday. For the red, blue, and green, gold, we do East Side, Englewood, currently just Monday through Friday.
And quite a increase year over year on ridership on all three.
Yes.
When did you start the Englewood route, Melissa? don't
It's
remember.
just a year old.
Oh, okay.
Any other questions?
Nope.
I was just curious, how do you get 65 trips a day? Is that how many, is that is that 3 buses?
No, so you're doing one loop an hour. And so on those, we do, David, is it 10 loops? Or 11?
Sorry about that. Can you re-ask that?
How many
Hold on.
loops a day do we do?
In where?
Red, green, and blue?
11.
11. So if you divide 11 by those numbers, so let's take red. So every time you go around in the loop, then you're touching 5 people.
Oh, I see.
Okay.
Thank you.
Excellent question.
Good one.
Any other questions or comments on red, green, blue, and gold?
Just disappointing numbers on the east side Inglewood. Do we need to spend more time and money publicizing that, getting community interest?
Yeah, so this particular service, it happens basically twice a day. So it will always be low. And the reason we instituted it, just a little background, is because we were just going outside and doing dial-a-ride, like on demand, going into those neighborhoods on demand. And it pulled away and actually negatively impacted our core service area. And so that's why we were trying to, let's say, batch our services by establishing a schedule so we could go into the neighborhoods and pick up, ideally, right, everyone at the same time, and then come back into town and then again, batch everyone and bring them back out to their respective neighborhoods. That is the goal. And then there is always discussion on where will new low-income housing be built. And so there have been discussions in those neighborhoods. And so again, we want to support some of those developments and developers who are looking at those neighborhoods to increase housing opportunities.
Good.
So that's a little background. But and we did do a video over the summer that highlighted East Side and Englewood.
Yeah, the videos that have been online have been amazing. They are so excellent. And you look at them and it makes you chuckle because they've done such a good a job. The people involved, the young kids doing those, it's pretty impressive.
Yeah, it's been fun. So moving on to Florence, this also was a high priority. And you will see that in 23-24, we did 4,871 trips. The fully allocated cost, 226,000. The cost per trip, 46.5 dollars a trip. And generally almost 16 trips a day. Any comments on Florence?
I think it's a necessary trip to give people an opportunity to get to the airport or whatever.
And growing nicely.
Mm-hmm. Then we have the timber route that connects Coos Bay North Bend to Coquille and Myrtle Point. And this was also a high priority as it connects Coos Bay North Bend with our county seat. And with that, in the last fiscal year, we did 2,445 trips. And fully allocated cost, 151,000. Cost per trip, 61. And trips per day, 9.5. Any comments on the timber route?
Just another high growth route.
It gets to the courthouse early enough for people that might have activities going on.
It does.
Good.
Melissa, is the timber route trending? This is a consistent utilization or growing a little bit or maybe decreasing?
So timber, it's growing. I think again, if we did more marketing of the timber route, I think it would has more potential to grow.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. And I will say, you know, we do timber AM. We have one bus going south and one bus coming north. And then they spend the day basically in those respective communities. And then about 3 o'clock, then they return to their respective originations. And then we have a single bus then in the PM at 5 o'clock that goes down to from Coos Bay North Bend down to Coquille and then back. So it kind of does the sweep, right? The evening sweep. And that seems to be working well for us. So the next service is the power service. That's once a day on Thursdays. It's basically a shopper. We have a bus that starts in Coos Bay North Bend, goes to Powers, picks up individuals needing services in Coos Bay North Bend, and also has the flexibility of dropping anyone off in Myrtle Point or Coquille on the way. But they go from Powers up to Coos Bay North Bend. They have their opportunity to shop and then or make their other errands, and then they're picked up and then returned to Powers on that day.
Good.
And the last time we went through planning, that was a high priority. And the last service we have is the Roseburg route. It was a medium priority. And our trips have kind of dipped, I would say. In 2022-23, we had 271 trips. In 23-24, we have 239 trips. This service is a Tuesday and a Wednesday. Generally, this is also a reservation service. So if we have no reservations, it doesn't run.
Good.
So when they, Melissa, oh, Roseburg, never mind. Never mind, I take it back.
So I think,
Generally,
like go ahead, I think someone's talking.
yeah, generally on the Roseburg route, they're either going to the VA clinic or they're connecting with like Greyhound. That's the most typical purpose for individuals who are using this service.
We have utilized that service less when we're trying to connect with Greyhound because for whatever reason, the connections haven't been as seamless. So we've utilized the Florence to the Coos to Florence, Florence to Eugene link more for us. So there's obviously, I'm not saying that we're the only ones that use it, but we have probably only sent maybe 10 people through Roseburg this year, whereas last year we had probably sent 20 or 30.
Comment on that, there's, Vietnam vets are a declining population.
Mhm.
But that may be a question for your writers that are taking the bus.
Yeah, I think the biggest issue, and like we've done before, is advertising. Go to senior centers, go to different organizations that say they don't know about our services, even though we do a lot of advertising. We just need to get out there and promote ourselves more so we can get more people riding the bus. And whatever it takes. David's obviously done some good work in his short time here, but continue, that is excellent.
So I guess will the board take a position on the prioritization? Does it stand as presented?
Yes,
Is
Can I get
that
a motion on the floor in regards to the standing of our priorities?
I move that we keep the priorities, and specifically, I'm talking the Roseburg run.
Second.
And that to that one, I move that we keep that priority.
You mean, do you want to keep them all the same?
Roseburg in particular, I actually want to keep all of them, but I thought the competition was just on the Roseburg.
Melissa, are you looking at just one or the whole page?
so? I'm interested in if all of the priorities, basically everything is high with the exception of Coquille Myrtle Point is high medium, Gold is high medium, and Roseburg is medium. The balance are all high, and should all the priorities stand as presented?
Okay,
I move that they all stand as presented.
we got a motion. Do we have a second?
Second, this is
Thank
Tara. I
you.
second.
Thanks, Tara. Question. So are there any out there that you think need to move up or down? Or we should maintain and continue our professionalism and keep promoting our business?
I have a question for Melissa. On those low ridership areas and the cost of them, does that seem reasonable? I assume that we have the money for that without a problem? Question mark?
So we'll be watching the we'll continue to monitor Coquille Murray Point, right? And we'll continue to monitor Gold and Roseburg. I don't anticipate for the biennium 25-27 that we'll have any funding concerns. But we, again, being responsible for taxpayer investment, we want to continue to monitor those, particularly those three services as a board, to ensure that we're doing the best that we can in serving the constituents, as well as investing the money properly.
Yeah, so we can just periodically, you can give us reports, since we get our monthly ridership report, we can continue to monitor to see if we've increased those throughout, and then if we have to make a change in the next biennium, we gotta make a change. Logical? Okay, so we have a motion. Any more questions or comments in regards to our priorities?
I have a comment, not that I'm gonna vote, but I have a comment. Would you like me to make it after you vote?
No, you can comment, Lauren, anytime.
I just noticed I was at the Walmart and I happened to park by the transfer station area. And I had a concern, but not about the buses or anything, but I had a concern about something else. And what I noticed there, and it's kind of an unintended consequence, I think, of having the hub anywhere, but I just noticed the community that was forming at those hubs. People that ride those buses maybe every day or whatever their schedule is, but there's this community that's forming that are looking after each other, and they're forming relationships, and I just felt like it was a really beautiful thing to see. And you can imagine that some of them probably don't get out very often or make those types of relationships, and CCAT's helping with that, whether we know it or not. And so, good work, people. I loved it.
Thanks, Lauren. That was an excellent point. Any other questions or comments before we vote on the priorities? All those in favor of maintaining the priorities as they are, say aye. Aye. No, all those against, say aye, nay. And abstain. Okay, we'll keep the priorities as they are. Thank you. Okay.
All right, so now this is where those priorities are gonna go to work for us. So attached in your packet is the solicitation. And so you'll see that it's basically a form, right? And we're gonna get this posted out publicly. And again, this is for funding for July of 2025 through June 30, 2027. And you can see, that completed applications will need to be received by October 1, and that the board of directors at our October meeting and our advisory committee will discuss the responses. And at the bottom of page 3 and the top of page 4, that is where our service prioritization will be reflected, or is reflected. And there's going to be a link to this video of today's meeting. So if any proposer was interested, they can hear the dialogue that we did with respect to the services. And as I said, historically, the transit district has been the only responder, but this is a requirement of our funding streams that we do publish the opportunity to provision services to meet the needs of our constituents. Questions?
Nope. Any questions? Okay. Too many papers here, Melissa.
So you're gonna ask for a motion to approve the solicitation?
Could I get a motion from the floor to approve the solicitation?
So move.
And a second?
Second,
Okay, call it a tie. Any questions in regards to that? All those wanting to approve the solicitation, say aye. Aye. Oppose? Abstain? We've got the solicitation ready to go. So then obviously it says F, we're tabling the fair ordinance first reading. And then you said you'd like it on September 23rd?
Yeah.
Is that a meeting?
Would the advisory committee members and the board of directors be available for a special meeting just to talk about and hear comments from the public on a new fare structure? Basically, as you recall, we're rolling to Passio, which is going to be a scheduling app. A component of that will be you schedule and you can also pay for your trip. But with that, when you take fare structure that has traditionally been punch cards and very paper intensive and moving to digital, there's lots of opportunities such as, hey, instead of paying in advance $20 for a punch card, what if instead of forward funding that cost and potentially maybe a burden for someone, what if we did fare capping? And if you purchased so many rides either a week or in a month, and you capped, so then the balance of the week or the balance of the month, once they hit a threshold, they could ride for free, right? That would be a nice feature, rather than forward funding for the discount if you hit a cap and then received basically the balance of that time period free rides. And then also simplifying, we went to zone fares, but they're not easily communicated to the public, and setting business rules to support zone fares is actually very complex. So simplifying our fares, I think, will also help in communicating, marketing, and as well as operationalizing our services.
So we'll talk about all that at the meeting on the 23rd at 9 o'clock.
Yeah, but I wanted to get a sense if I'll be able to get a quorum at that day and time.
I'll be there.
I'll be there.
I'll be here.
I'm not able to attend that day.
Will it be Zoom accessibility?
Yes,
I should be able to be there.
okay.
Then will you send a note to Shira and anyone else who's not here
Yes, I
about
will.
the meeting?
Yeah,
Excellent.
great. Okay, I will plan on scheduling a special just for the purposes of discussing a new fare structure. And thank you very much.
And then, of course, you have to publish it in in wherever you have to
All
publish.
those things, all those
Yes.
things that are our due diligence to make sure everyone knows that we are meeting. It's particularly important since we're talking about fairs, right? Because we want the public to come and comment. And so I'll have something written up in advance so that folks will have and David Repquis will help me get that out so that we can get some good public dialogue as well.
Good. General manager report. Melissa.
Yeah, so I want to talk briefly about our meetings that are coming up in October and November because they happen to fall on holidays. And I mean, it's not a problem for me, but again, we want to make sure that we can get quorums on those days. So is there anyone who would not be available on October 14 on Columbus Day / Indigenous Peoples Day? And is there anyone unavailable on November 11 on Veterans Day?
I'm good on the first one. I'm checking the second. No, I even already got it on my calendar. I'm good.
I'm good on the 11th.
Hold on, I'm slow.
I should be both.
Yes, no problem.
Good.
I
Okay,
need an advisory board because I will not be available on the 11th. They might not. You're going to.
We always like to hear.
so on the 11th, let me go back to pull up. I think the key is October. I'm going to need both the advice. I would like to have both the advisory committee and the board of directors. And in November, it will just, the board of directors will approve the STIF plan. So, you know, we always like to have advisory committee feedback.
Okay,
but
I'm available in November. What was the October one?
October 14th.
14.
Oh, okay, I'm good. Sorry.
We're good?
Yeah.
Okay. Yay. All right.
Good deal.
That's fabulous. Yeah.
Any more general manager
Any
report?
more? Oh, I do want to say, hey, fabulous news. Fabulous news. We have our first $2 million for our building.
Yay.
So we won't, so it's kind of fun in that, hey, that we have $2 million, but it's not going to be available. We can't access it until sometime during the period of October of 2025 and March of 2026. In that window, sometime the $2 million will be accessible to us. Okay. So we know that, hey, there's $2 million earmarked for us. So that is a huge thing to celebrate. And we will also need to be flexible in our timeline, right, to invest in the property and such, because it's not a hard date. Oh yeah, October 1, bam, we can start spending. It's not going to work like that. And I'll also say that this is also a reimbursement, right? It's not like the second that we need it, we're going to have access to it. So, my recommendation is that we will want to, for cash flow purposes, because ODOT has 30 days to reimburse us. We can't, from a cash flow perspective, say, oh yeah, I'm going to drop $1 million, you know, this week to buy that property and wait 30 days. That's not gonna fly, I must say. So we're gonna need to do like an infrastructure loan, so that we have basically a credit line so that we can meet those immediate cash needs as a gap fill, right? And then we'll get our reimbursement, and then we'll put that back against the basically credit line of this infrastructure loan. How do people feel about that?
Jennifer had a couple of comments.
Yeah, Jennifer's got some interesting opportunities. Go, Jennifer.
Oh, no, I was just saying ODOT is so much fun that she has to wait for her money. But yes, the infrastructure bank loan is through ODOT, and it is a low interest. I know that when Curry County applied for theirs, they purchased a building using the infrastructure bank. Their interest rate was like 1.5%, but that was several years ago. So I think it's at 2.5, somewhere around there right now. Really low interest, great opportunity if you're doing a facility, and especially if you have funding that's going to be coming in, because it does provide you with that opportunity to begin the process. And obviously you can't do anything until that wonderful NEPA document is completed, because FTA loves those NEPAs. It is a great opportunity. I mean, it is always a risk, but the low interest and the fact that it's through ODOT is one of those things that makes it a little bit less scary than going through like a commercial loan process. And it's the money that Melissa earned or got, the $2 million, it's a great leverage for additional funding, especially as we head towards next year for the 5339 grant that will be put in. She can say that she has $2 million secured, and this is how much the building process is going to take, and that will go a long way, a lot longer, farther than normally would with a grant through the FTA direct. So good job, Melissa.
So this has to be a new property, a new building, or can we purchase a fixer-upper?
It will, well, we'll be going through a process. Right now we have an RFP for basically an architecture firm or consultant to meet with us and the public to define all of our program requirements, right? Because what we're looking for is like an admin building that is not in a pole barn, that can actually facilitate, travel training in a classroom setting. That we're trying to be co-located at our transfer location so that we can provide those additional supports. And the transfer location, unlike what we're currently doing in the Walmart parking lot, that has amenities, that is safe, because I wouldn't describe our current transfer location as a safe location. And then also the hydrogen infrastructure that we want to be hydrogen ready so that we can move off of fossil fuels. All of that will take much more space than our little tiny postage stamp of 0.44 acres.
Good.
So whether it's a brand new ground to a brand new building, or whether it is a rehab of an existing building, that is yet to emerge. But we'll define our requirements, we'll assess our site locations, we'll go through NEPA, and then we'll talk to someone about cost, but we have to go through all of the steps.
Well, we've been talking about, how long? 3 or 4 years about this hub, at least?
It probably just feels like it.
Oh, it feels like forever. Any more in your general manager report, Melissa? That's exciting though. That is
it is.
exciting.
I don't have any more to share at this time, but I do look forward to seeing everyone at our now special meeting that will happen on September 23rd.
Got it. It's in the calendar. Any questions or comments by board members of all boards in the room or on TV? Good deal. We'd like to welcome Mike to our crew. I don't know what he's signed up for, but there's a lot of, we think this might happen, but we're hoping it will. Well, thank you. Have a good day. Time to go golfing.
Thank you.